Yo, welcome to another episode of Crate 808, and today we have one of Brooklyn's finest in the house, a man who's been one of the most consistent rap artists of the last decade, bringing elite lyricism to the game, and who once called himself a Jay-Z and Quali accident. We got Skyzoo in the house. How you doing, bro?
Peace.
It's good to have you, man. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a big fan, man. So I've been like trying to chase you down, and I thought we're ready to have Skyzoo on. So I appreciate you.
Man, let's do it.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you jumping on, man. And yeah, man, just wanted to say congratulations on what is like 10 years of madness on your career, man. Like, yeah, it must feel good, right?
Thank you. No, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
I mean, the last album alone, In Celebration of Us, I mean, to be fair, that's my I know it's your latest one, but that is my favorite, that one.
Thank you, man. That's what it's about. You know, it's about every record being better than the last and connecting more. You know, you got to be better today than you were yesterday. So that's great.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear, man. Maturing like a fine wine, mate.
Word up.
So we have a few questions we get into, but first of all, as all guests, when they step into the Crate 808 offices, we do have our staple question to start off with, and that is, what's the least hip-hop thing that you've done in the last 24 hours? Do you have one for me?
The least hip-hop thing? Oh, man. Wow. Cooking breakfast this morning. There you go.
Okay, that's good. I bet not
that
a lot.
Ain't really hip-hop, you know what I mean?
It's usually someone else doing the cooking for you, right? So yeah, that's cool. I like that. I think now you're in, we need to start at the beginning. I mean, that's where I would like to start and just basically find out, like, how did you even get into hip-hop and how did that evolve for you into like rapping?
So I started rhyming when I was 9, and it was an artist by the name of Chi Ali, who was with the Native Tongues movement, with a Tribe Called Quest and Black Sheep and all those guys. And it was an artist by the name of Chi Ali. He was about 15 at the time. And I heard his single, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, and that was all I wanted to do from then on. I was like, this is exactly what I want to be doing. At 9 years old. So I started rhyming that day, and I never looked back. I was about 9 years old. It was 1991.
Damn, man, right at the start of the massive golden era as well. That's crazy, man. And in Brooklyn, that used to felt that. Like Brooklyn and New York generally, Jesus, at that time, crazy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was dope, man. You opened the windows, you heard hip-hop. Walk down the block, you heard hip-hop. It just was everything that you could imagine it being is what it was.
So do you remember like the first few artists that really, really like grabbed you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Chi was the reason why I started rhyming, but I was already a fan of hip-hop as a little kid just because it was around me everywhere I went. But, Chi was the reason why I started rhyming. But, early on, it was guys like, Tribe Called Quest. It was NWA. It was, Big Daddy Kane and Eric B. and Rakim, EPMD, Kid and Play. It was a lot of those different types of artists. And then as I got older, 12, 13, stuff like that, it became about Biggie, Nas, Wu-Tang, all those guys, and then Jay-Z and, all that. They just kept going, and those are the guys that you listen to and, you see what they're doing and you want to get busy. Those are the guys that inspired me. As a kid, I was always about whoever was really saying something. Even as a kid, it was about lyricism for me. 100%. It was about lyricism.
Have you got any bars that really stick out where you were like, oh, I remember hitting me first, like, or something that really impacted you early doors?
Not really lines per se that I remember being a fan of, but I just remember like, everything that Only Built for Cuban Links did to me, everything Iron Man did to me, everything Liquid Swords did, everything, Illmatic, of course, Ready to Die, being from a block away from Biggie, growing up literally a block away from Biggie. Ready to Die was the soundtrack to the neighborhood. That whole album is about my neighborhood. That album was every day for months. 2, 3, 4 months at a time. Yeah,
because that BK thing, I think BK were like running it for like a while from the UK standpoint of things. So obviously we're getting things 3, 4 times, 5 times removed. And I just remembered that the Brooklyn, I was like, how big is this place called Brooklyn? Because there's like so many, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, and over here we're like, oh my God, like how much, what always fascinated me about hip hop from a young age was a lot of this is all started in one city. The amount of talent and culture that erupted from pretty much like one area of a huge country. My God, like to me, that still gets me to this day. Like how New York, it's probably its greatest export is hip hop. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. No doubt about it.
Yeah, man. So we're talking about emceeing, talk about getting into the rap game, and just basically doing it for the love. First of all, I love the name Skyzoo. I just wanted to know where you got the name from. And there's a second question on top of that. Did you have any other MC names before Skyzoo?
Yeah, so the way I got Skyzoo, so my real name is Skyler, Skyler. Everybody knows me as Skyler. That's my name. Boom, boom, boom. Cool. So that's my middle name, but it's the name that everyone, my family, it's my middle name, but it might as well be my first name.
Yeah.
So it's Skyler or Sky for short. When I was a kid, a toddler, so this might have been 84, 85 when I was a toddler, because I was born in 82. There was a disco group out named Sky. They had a record called Skyzoo, and my family used to sing it to me as a little nickname, because it was a big disco record on the radio and stuff like that. And when I started rhyming, I just stuck with it, because I knew nobody would have it, and it was who I already was. It was just an in-house family-only nickname. But as far as another name, when I first started rhyming, I entertained going by Spade, a spade, on a card. And I grew up also as a graffiti head. So I used to tag Spade, that was my graph name. So I used to tag Spade. So, even at 9 years old, I was messing around. Obviously, I wasn't good at graffiti at 9. Now I'm pretty great at it, but I wasn't good at 9 at graffiti. But, I used to write Spade everywhere as a little kid. So I kind of started with that, even though Skyzoo was always there. And then I started using both. And then there was a million Spades when I would tag. If you do graffiti in New York, Spade was the most common graffiti name. So every time I would go tag, Spade was everywhere. And I was like, man, I can't use this no more, man. There's too many Spades. And that was just from a graffiti sense. But then with the rhyming too, I just used them. I just used it for both. I was like, yo, I'm just Skyzoo across the board, rhyming, graffiti, whatever, and that was it. The biggest thing was I knew nobody would have it, because it was such an unorthodox name. I knew nobody would have it.
Yeah, man. And it's a dope name, definitely. It sticks out, man. I remember when is it Cloud9 came out? I remember that because Ninth Wonder was the thing. And I was like, okay, so Ninth Wonder, let's go. And I'd never heard your name. And as soon as I saw the name, I was like, bang, it just stuck. So you made a good decision, man. Good decision. I don't think Spade would have stuck as well. Do you know what I mean?
Thank you.
But yeah, so obviously hip hop has got so many different genres, so many different dimensions to it. And essentially you were saying that you listen to NWA as well, and obviously the South coming up in the last 20 years. It's just a very, very eclectic landscape. So I think nowadays, especially for me, lyrics are still one of the first things I want to listen to. I still get down with the vibe, but I still love the lyrics. And this is why I think your more recent work from 2012 onwards, the one thing I've realized about your lyrics, your records generally are very dense. I can listen over and over and get different things at different times. So when I first started listening to you, I didn't have a wife and I didn't have a child. So I was getting into some of the rougher things and getting into I'm interpreting your stuff differently. And now I'm a dad, and now I'm listening to In Celebration of Us, and I'm like, wow, I just took 2-3 different ways what you've just said there.
Oh yeah.
First of all, is that something you're consciously trying to do, make lyrics so you don't get them on the first time?
Yeah, 100%. I think everybody has a style and a brand and what they're known for. And I think over time, what I'm known for and my brand, as far as being an MC and a lyricist, has been the double entendres, the double meanings, even the triple meanings, and not getting it on the first listen casually. You got to really listen to me and really break it down. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that. It's something I do on purpose for multiple reasons. One, because the guys I grew up on, they were doing it. You listen to Illmatic, 5-10 years later, there was still stuff that you was getting. You listen to Ready to Die, Reasonable Doubt. You listen to Liquid Swords, all these different albums. There was stuff that you got later over time. You know what I mean? It was written and all those different things, Life After Death. There was stuff you got later, and it was like, oh, snap, that's what he meant. Oh, wow. So I grew up like that. So it only makes sense for me to move like that when it was my turn to start putting the pen to the pad and getting busy and writing and all that. And then two, the other reason why is because I feel like as a listener, there's so much music coming at you nowadays. So people will listen to an album and they'll be over it after one listen. They'll be like, oh yeah, I heard the album. It was great. Yeah, I heard it. I liked it a lot. They don't listen to it anymore. Why? Because they got it. They already understood everything. They get it. There's nothing else for them to listen to. So with me, you want to keep listening to it. It's worth the purchase and whatever you're doing to get the music because it keeps giving you. It's the gift that keeps on giving, for lack of a better term. You know what I mean? So I I try to do that for the listener so that there's more to it for them. And they can say, dang, I've been listening to In Celebration of Us for a year and I'm still getting stuff. There you go. It's worth the $9.99 that you spent on iTunes or whatever it is, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's it. And this is where I think you were talking about specific artists that do have done that kind of thing. So your Nas, your Jay-Z, your Jizza and Raekwon and people like that. Like, that's probably why I still bump Illmatic to this day, is because of that and the different
100%.
meanings that come from it.
100%.
I was listening to Everybody's Fine. First of all, if no one's heard that, please go check out check out Skyzoo's work generally, but Everybody's Fine, that track, this is the type of song that I dissected over and over again. And it painted what I realized, it was like great art. It was like something that it's not black, it's not white, it's just all the shades of grey in between. When you read poetry and stuff like that, it can all be layers of how you interpret it. And I thought Everybody's Fine is one of them tracks that definitely did that for me when I first heard it. On that track, you basically repeat the verse again.
Yep. Yeah, the whole verse, word for word.
And that, first of all, saved me a rewind. So I was like, okay, I've got to rewind this. I was like, hold on, no, he's going in again. I like that kind of artistic, you're just going to go for it. But you actually went in and went in again, and I thought it was heavy, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. I just wanted to do something different with it for the reasons that you just gave. I had so much to say, and I knew that the verse was a lot. I knew I packed a whole lot into this luggage, like. I stuffed the luggage to the brim. And, so I just wanted to bring it back. I wanted it to feel like poetry, like spoken word. And I wanted the listener to do what you just said. I wanted it to be like, nah, you got to get what I'm saying because it's extremely important. What I'm saying on this record is extremely important. I'm going to make you get it.
Yeah.
Here we go. That was the science behind it.
Yeah, man. I love that. So we're talking about your old records here and the body of work you've had out since the noughties. But your new album, Project with Pete Rock, right?
Yep.
So tell me about it, man. How the hell did you hook that up? How did you sort out working with a legend like Pete Rock?
Oh, man. So Pete and I, Pete's been the homie for years now. We never had the chance to really do a bunch of work, but, he's been the homie for years now. He's been a fan of my work. Obviously, I grew up a fan of his work. And it just was time. It made sense. We had been talking about working for a long time. We had went over beats and going back and forth on beats and things like that, but it just was time. So Mellow Music Group, the label that's putting the album out, they reached out, and we'd worked before, the Easy Truth with myself and Apollo Brown. And I love those guys at Mellow. It's an awesome, awesome team. One of the best teams in hip hop as far as labels. Yeah. And they reached out and was like, yo, man, let's do another project. Let's keep it going. What do you think about you and Pete? And I was like, man, I love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Me and Pete, we've been talking about working for a long time anyway, so let's do it. And, lo and behold, there it is.
Yeah, man, and that was it. So how did you find the working process with Pete?
It was great. Pete's a legend for a reason. He's one of the greatest of all time. Without a doubt, no matter who you put into the equation, he called me and said, yo, come by the crib, come by the house and listen to some beats, man. And, let's start picking some stuff out and come get whatever you want. I'll play you as much as you want to hear. Come get whatever you want. Shop's open. And I went to his house and we pressed play. And, man, it was just nonstop. It was very hard deciding what beats were going to make the album because everything was great.
Yeah, I can imagine, yeah.
Yeah, everything was so bananas. You know what I mean? You want to make a 60-track album. You know what I mean? Everything was so great. So,
I'm here for the 60-track album, by the way. I'm here for that. If that's coming out, right? I'm here for that.
Word. So, so we started going through beats, and I picked a bunch of stuff that I loved, and, we rocked out, and that was it. So we did the album over the course of, about 12 days, 11, 12 days.
Oh, snap, the whole album?
We did the whole album. Yeah. The thing about me, and this isn't to stunt or flex or anything like that, but I'm a very fast writer. So I'll knock an album out in 2 weeks, week and a half. I'm a very fast writer. As long as I'm inspired by the beats and I kind of know what I want to talk about and I'm excited and I'm anxious, I can knock out an album in 2 weeks. easily, without a problem. So we did this album, I think, because we was together for 14 days, for 2 weeks, but there was a couple days that we just took as off days to kind of just vibe and, kind of just get everything going and get some inspiration. So the writing and recording, I think, was about 11 days.
That's crazy rapid. That's like, wow. But then again, I'm surprised because the level of lyricism, that's what surprises me more than anything, because I think people out there nowadays can knock an album out in 2 weeks, but you can tell.
If you get in the booth and doing something, I got a bag in the car, boom. I got a bag in the car, boom. I got the bag. We could do that album in a day. You know what I'm saying? Like, no problem. But if we really talking about getting busy and really something that's gonna make people sit and live with forever, and people will hopefully call a classic and timeless and all that, that's when the conversation does become, wow, man, you really did this in 2 weeks. So it's an honor and a privilege. I don't take that lightly at all. I don't take that for granted. I'm humbled by it. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to work so fast, and it's just a testament to the work that I've done and how I've groomed myself as an MC since I was 9 years old. I've been doing it so long,
Yeah, you put the hours in, that's it, right? So we're talking about Pete, and I just thought, what I'd love to hear is like your favorite Pete Rock beats or Pete Rock tracks. And I know I have a habit of doing this, like putting my guests under real bad pressure. But if you had any where you like that Pete Rock track, that means this for me, or like, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah. No, I can pick them. I can definitely pick them.
Okay.
Let me see. The World Is Yours is, to me, the greatest beat of all time, period. The greatest hip-hop beat ever, to me, is The World Is Yours. So The World Is Yours, for sure. That would be number one. I probably should have waited last for that one, but that would be number one. The rest of them, I'm not going to rank them. Troy, they reminisce over you.
Top 10 for me. Top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. Troy, definitely off of Soul Survivor, I would say... I'm looking at it in my head right now. What's the name of the beat? Number One. It's called Number One on Soul Survivor. Fantastic, incredible, one of my favorite beats ever. There's a beat Pete did on the Rakim album back in 97, I want to say.
What? 18th Letter?
Yep, on that album.
I know which one you're talking about.
Saga Begins.
Yes.
Saga Begins.
Yes. Oh.
That beat definitely goes up there. And what's that, 4?
I think you got 4, man.
One more. Yeah, that's 4. If I had to give you one more, oh man, it's so difficult. So on Return of the SP-1200, the instrumental album, Pete put a beat that he had leaked in 96 for a remix that he did on his own that never came out. It's the Street Dreams remix.
Oh,
that
what?
Beat for sure goes up there. Yeah.
I don't even think I've heard that one. What? Yeah, I need to
if you dig up Return of the SP-1200, which is the instrumental album that Pete put out earlier this year, there's a beat on there called Street Dreams Remix. And he had remixed Street Dreams back in 96, but he never put it out. He just played it on the radio a few times, and everybody was taping it on their cassette tapes to try to have it.
Damn.
And he finally put it out.
That's crazy.
That's definitely up there.
That's crazy. Okay, yeah, I'm checking that. So yeah, I mean, generally when you look at producers in hip hop, there's a few who have aged really well, and Pete's just one of those, and he's still touring, he's still doing his thing. So are you guys going to be hitting Europe with the album as well?
Yeah. I'm definitely going to be touring. I don't know if Pete's going to be doing the tour because he does have a lot going on. He may come out for some of it. He may not. So we're trying to figure that out now. But I'll definitely be out there. I work with a company out of Europe called Mind Feeders. And they do, they're based in Berlin. They do all of my Europe bookings. And I'll be working with them on this. And we're already starting to have the conversations about how we can do this. And, make it make sense because, man, I'm super excited, man. I'm ready to get out there and get to it. I love Europe. I love being out there, and I'm ready to get going.
Yeah, man. We're here for that, man. Definitely. So we're talking about your career, and you've been around for a minute now doing your thing. Is there any specific career highlights that you have, you hold dear to yourself?
Oh, a ton of them. I'm blessed to be able to have a ton of them. I would say, obviously, doing a full album with Pete. The way I'm able to tour and travel, we talked about Europe, we talk about South Africa, we talk about Asia, we talk about Australia and all those different things. But specific highlights, I would say South Africa for sure. Doing festivals in South Africa, 30,000 people as one of the headliners and people losing it, extremely humbling. And, it just blows me away. Every time it happens, it just blows me away even more than the last. Yeah, I would say working with Spike Lee was definitely a highlight for me and being able to call him a friend and a homie now since we've work.
I was going to say with the Spike Lee thing, one of the things I've always loved about your work is you end up referencing all the films and TV I love, and it's like, oh shit, so you love Spike Lee, I love Spike Lee, but it's great. Then like the endless Wire references, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm fucking with this just because.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, my music just represents me and who I am and what I'm into and what I'm about and what's impacted me and how I feel, and all that stuff just all comes together and they go hand in hand, and people relate because they feel the same way and they're similar too, But just going back to the highlights, working with Dr. Dre, it's huge.
That is huge.
Just, man, it's been a blessing, man. It's been a blessing so far in my career. I'm super appreciative of it, and I thank God every day for it. And it's just been a wild ride, man. And we're still going. We still got a full tank of gas. We're still going.
Absolutely. And how was Dre? How was it working with someone like Dre?
So kind of just, when I say working, more so in the sense of like vibing, learning different things from him musically, just building. And there's no record coming out or anything like that, just to be clear.
I was going to say.
At least not yet. But yeah, at least not yet. But, you never know what the future holds. But just learning so much from him and vibing with him and, working on things and just picking his brain, man. You know what I mean? It was one of the most fascinating things. And being able to do that all the time. Like Dre's the homie now. So like being able to do that all the time, picking his brain, man, he's the greatest. He's up there literally as far as producing records and producing albums, and man, there's nothing like him as far as all that. And there's a reason why he's got it figured out. Same thing with Pete, with Pete. There's a reason why he's got it figured out the way he does. It's amazing.
Yeah, man. Geniuses. Absolute geniuses, man. The vastness of where you've been and where you're going to go, it's just really exciting, man. I have to say, it's really exciting from this end of things. And then I was looking at stuff like ghostwriting. Like, so you have ghostwritten. I would love to know the process of a ghostwriter and your specific process when it comes to working with artists.
Yeah, ghostwriting is a big thing for me as well. When I'm not working on my own music, I'm working on music for other artists. Rappers, singers, all different types of genres of music, songwriting, ghostwriting, things like that. It's amazing. I love the process. I love what it is. I love how I go about it. It's super dope, man. The way I do it, ghostwriting it's like a suit. I look at it. A lot of people don't look at it this way, but I do. It's a tailor-made suit. So like for you, for instance, if you wanted me to ghostwrite something for you, the first thing you and I are going to do is have a conversation. We're going to talk about what you want to talk about, what things you want mentioned on the record. We're going to get some background information. I may ask you, okay, where are you from? Give me some neighborhoods that you grew up in. Give me some things that you're into. Give me some, some insight on your life so that when people hear it, they'll listen to it and truly think that you wrote it, because that's the goal of a ghostwriter. The goal of a ghostwriter is people not really knowing that someone else wrote it. So the first thing I would do with you, if it was you, for instance, is we would just have all these conversations. And for me, that's research and homework. And then I put all that stuff in the record. And my job is to make that suit fit you and nobody else.
So that's interesting, because then how long is that process? Because like, say you did ghostwrite for someone, but they're a very different lane from you. So say they're not focused on the elite double entendres and stuff like that, but they just want it to flow tight.
Absolutely.
Like how long would you be with that person? Would you be in there for like, is it like weeks, or are you just kind of like, I can nail this in a day or two?
Yeah, it can happen either way. I've had situations where I'll take a trip to be with a certain artist for a week, for 2 weeks, whatever it is. A week could turn into 3 weeks because they're so excited and so happy with the work that's being done. All those different types of things, which is amazing. And then on the flip side, there are situations where I do something via email and send it to them. But in those situations, I kind of know the artist already and we have a relationship. So I know who they are. I know what they're about. I know what they want to talk about. I know their background, et cetera, et cetera. So, but when I write, like I said, it's tailor-made, right? So like, I might like my suits to fit a certain way. You want your suits to fit a different way. And you take that in the sense of the double entendres. If I'm writing for you, I'm not going to give you a bunch of double entendres because that's not your style. Your style is more direct, or your style is club and party records, or your style may be the trap stuff that we talked about, the simple, easy stuff. That may be your style. And if that's what you want, then I can put that together for you. But even when I do that type of stuff, I try to still give it some type of substance. and show the artist why it matters. And they'll be like, yo, that's dope, man. You got me saying X, Y, Z. That's crazy, you know? And I try to give it that little added substance and put my own flair on it. Like, now I'm going to make you say something. I know you want to do the but I'm a sneak a little something in there to make people be like, yo, did you hear so-and-so say that? I never would have thought he could get lyrical like that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I'll still throw a little dash of secret seasoning in there. You know what I mean?
That's
but
sick. That is sick, man.
But I'm not gonna do double entendres for everybody I'm ghostwriting for, because that's not their style. They don't want their suits to fit that way. They want them to fit a different way.
Yeah, so you can switch it up. I like that. But this is, again, your career is, you can switch it up from ghostwriting to being an artist to even working as rap coaching, right? So I was seeing that you even worked on like film sets and stuff, like helping out, basically being a consultant and a rap coach. So there's one film in particular called Patty Cakes that I watched that when it came out, and I had no idea that you were coaching on that. But I genuinely was like, oh, that girl's got some bars. That girl's got some bars in there. So how did you get into that kind of mode of thinking?
Yeah, I was approached by the people who made the film, the director, Jeremy Jasper, who's awesome, really dope dude. I was approached by him via my man Jay Period, another super awesome dude. They came to me, and Jeremy was a fan and was trying to get in touch with me, and Jay Period, I've known him for a long time, so he hooked it up. And he just came to me and said, look, man, I'm doing this film about this girl who raps, and, she's an overweight Caucasian female rapper. So she has every card against her. I've got to make her sound believable. I want people to be like, man, this chick is nice. Regardless of who she is or what she looks like, this chick is nice. So the actress, Danielle McDonald, who was amazing, she's super awesome, and she's in a bunch of different things going on right now. Danielle had never rapped a day in her life. So the goal was to hide that. The goal was for people at home and in the movie theaters to not ever realize that she never rapped a day in her life. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
So that's where I came in. I had to really teach her how to rap in like 2 weeks, and she had to be believable, and she killed it. She crushed it. She was amazing.
Yeah.
Man, she rocked out. It was an amazing time.
That's wicked. I mean, that's a lot of her part and on your part. Was there anything like, were any specific like rap songs that you played to her and said, look, the way that this guy or girl kind of approaches the art? Yeah, I played her a lot of Big Pun, because Pun does a lot of so if you can do that, then you can carry flow, you can deliver. If you can do all that, then being able to scale it down is easy. Yeah.
It's like if you could dribble through your legs and behind your back, then you can definitely just dribble walking up the court.
I can't believe the highest bar ever, like top 5 MC of all time. Yeah, there it is. So you have to learn like Pun. It's like, holy shit. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we did some Pun, we did some Biggie, we probably did some Jay, if I'm not mistaken. We did some Nicki,
for sure.
We did some battle rap stuff. Like I pulled up a lot of like Queen of the Ring. If you're familiar with Queen of the Ring, because there's battle scenes in the movie. So I pulled up Queen of the Ring. I wanted her to see females battling, not males. I could have went to URL and all that, but I wanted her to see females showing aggression and getting busy. So I pulled up a lot of Queen of the Ring stuff on YouTube and showed her some of that, and she took to it, man, like a fish in water, and it was amazing.
Yeah, man, that's sick. That is sick, man. Wicked. So you've done films, you've done ghostwriting. Is there anything that you've wanted to do in your career now? Like where you're like, do you know one thing I've never done I kind of want to just reach to? Is there anything in your career you wanted to get to?
I think there's specific things every day as a creative force and as an artist. There's things you always aspire to do. So hopefully the list never gets fully checked off, because if it does, then that's the day when I'm, got to retire and peace out. There's always more to aspire and achieve and go for. But, I've been blessed, like you said, man, to just been able to accomplish so much pretty much on my own. I definitely have people in my corner, but I really am a one-man machine on this side. And it's been amazing, man. It's been an awesome ride. And like I said, the car is still loaded with gas. Tank is still loaded, so we're rolling. It. But yeah, I want to, musically, I just want to continue to grow with the sounds sonically and just touch different things. I'm a huge jazz head, so I listen to 90% of what I listen to is jazz, and I see Miles and Train and Wayne Shorter and Thelonious Monk and all these different artists that I admire who have dozens and dozens and dozens of albums and changing the sound while remaining them and reaching these heights. And that's kind of what drives me a little bit, you know?
Yeah, man, I feel that. Is there any artists that you were like, you know what, one person I really want to work with before just to check off that one artist?
Yeah. I mean, I would love to work with, it's more so producers than artists, but I would love to work with Pharrell. I would love to work with Madlib. I would, just so many different guys sonically, producer-wise, more than anything, that I would love to just build and create with, you know?
You and Madlib, Jesus. I don't even want to think about that. After Bandana this year? Shit. I don't know, man, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, super dope project, man, yeah.
Yeah, crazy. That's one of my albums of the year. I love that album.
Yo, this is Rodney P, the Rhythm Killer, big blood clot things were in there, you heard me? Yeah. And we're here listening to the Crate 808 podcast. Big things is going on right back to the early morning. If you don't know, get to blood clot. No, you feel me? Yeah, big old man Cam every time. People. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And remember, subscribe it, rate it, review it, and go on and tell your blood clot friends. For real.
So just your thoughts generally. I was just looking at it's been a huge decade in hip hop culture. Every decade's built on and on the 90s, and this podcast specifically about the 90s. But I was looking at the last decade, and I was just thinking, first of all, your thoughts on the current state of hip hop culture, and if there was anything like an album or two or artists from this last 10 years where you've been like, you know what? Yeah, that's my shit. That was the stuff that banged for me.
Yeah, I think hip hop is in a cool place because even though there's a lot of nonsense still going on, there's also the other side of it where if you don't like what's going on the radio and TV and what's being promoted to you everywhere you turn, you can just turn all that off and get on the internet and find other music. There's so many artists out here, myself included, who are doing so much that may not be on the radio or TV every day, but it doesn't matter because it's out there and it exists, and we have legions of fans and diehard fans that are out there supporting it and coming to shows and, supporting our lifestyles and, all of that because they love the music. It doesn't have to begin and end with the TV and the radio. It can be people like yourself putting a spotlight on people like myself and that taking off, So I think it's cool because that's a reality. But there are still some things that need to be worked out in hip hop, but as long as there's another lane and another outlet to find what you like, it's okay. I
think you're right. I think there's a richness to it right now, and I'm not sure if that's because of access. Back in the day, I'm sure you must have seen the change of access. Must have been crazy. Like when you started, there was no SoundCloud to upload music for free. Do you know what I mean? Like I remember, you would LimeWire stuff and you would download things like that, but there was nothing that was like, oh my God, I'm just getting EPs and mixtapes for free, and there's hundreds of them. I mean, there must have been a big difference for you, coming from that school of thought, right?
Yeah, no, it's insane. It's insane for sure. It's a wild time.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's it. It's wild. It's wild. The other thing I wanted to know was just your last 10 years, favorite artists and albums from the last 10 years. Have you got any that really rang true for you?
Oh man, 10 years. Okay. A lot of the people that I'm going to name, they're friends of mine, so you got, all the Griselda guys. Those are my bros, those are my brothers. Those guys are like family. I've known West and Khan and Benny of those guys since 2014, 5 years. Those are my guys. So you got all Derringer and all of those guys, Then you got Joyner Lucas, who I've known since 2008. When he was 16 or whatever. Damn. And I knew how dope he was going to be. I knew it. I remember saying, dude, everything's going to work out right for you. I knew it.
So he was nice at 16 then, yeah?
Yeah, he's been that type of individual pretty much his whole life, man. And, so I knew that, so guys like that, guys like that. There's a lot out there that are really getting busy.
I feel you, man. The Griselda gang alone, holy shit, man, the explosion. And this is, I remember Benny's Tanner Talk, I think it was Tanner Talk 2 was the first thing I heard. And I was like, who is this guy? And then when Tanner Talk 3 came out, it was all over. It was okay, the beats alone and everything about it. I remember just getting into it heavy from that to the point, just last week, I think it was West put out there's 2 mystery t-shirts I'm putting on. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. Yeah, go for it. I just bought both. I didn't even know what they were going to be. And I was like, do you know what? It's West. his stuff's always good. So the fact that he's gone from an artist I would listen to passing to someone who's now releasing merch and tracks and just so much material, like, oh my god, another album, and it's all heavy, and that's something I have to say, like, yeah, they're taking over, man. They're taking over.
No, it's awesome to see, and with them too, you know, I knew it. I was like, yeah, this is gonna go where it needs to go, and it's definitely what's been happening. So, you know, it's good to see all that. You know what I mean? It's good to see that with my peoples.
Yeah, man, definitely. Talking about your peoples, I just listened to the new, because I know the album isn't out yet, but the new Posse cut, the Eastern Conference All Stars. Wowee, man, that Posse cut. I was just like, I just wanted to ask you what your favorite Posse cuts were, because when I heard that, I was like, damn, he must have heard a lot of Posse cuts, because this is like getting all the heavyweights of now with Elzai as well.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, it's some of your
favorites. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'd love to know some of your favorite Posse cuts, though. Do you have any, like, on top of your head?
Yeah, I would say the Symphony from back in the day. You know, I would say Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
I would say DMX done started something with Mace and the Locks, and man, 4321, of course, I think is in a lot of people's conversations from LL.
Yeah, I like it's a strong selection off the top of your head. Trust me. Yeah, that's what I'm
that's just off the head, you know.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, man, just a few of the questions we have. Another one that might give you a headache, but generally, I know these things change every day. They do for me. So I just wanted to know, now that you're on Crate 808, what are your top 5 MCs?
Oh, man. I always go, you know, Biggie, Jay-Z, Nas, you know, and this is all in no particular order, but Biggie, Jay-Z, Nas, Mos Def.
Yes.
And
thank you, Mos Def.
And yeah, Mos Def for sure. And then like Black Thought, like that last spot. And again, it's not in any particular order. It's always like a Black Thought, Andre 3000 kind of them sharing that fifth spot almost. But I mean, Thought is so amazing, man. Like, you know, so those guys, man, like Big J, Nas, Mos, Black Thought, and then you could put Andre right there as well, Scarface right there as well. Yeah, that's what I'm on.
It's Sky, man. That's mad, because other people here like cussing me, like, oh, do you know what? I don't know. And you just reeled them off. I'm like, yes, that's what I'm talking about. Like, just bing, bang, bang.
Yeah,
that's it.
Absolutely.
So a few of the questions that we have that we ask our guests: which 90s artist do you think has aged the best?
I think you got to say Jay, because he's a 90s artist. He came out in 96. I think you got to say Jay-Z, because he's been able to adapt so much, so strongly, and still literally have the stronghold on the game. Literally matter, be important, be the most important thing in hip-hop, probably, as far as if he puts something out, everything kind of stops, you know, and is able to still drive the car and still run the game the way he sees fit and the way he wants. So I think you got to say Jay. Even if you weren't a fan of his, and obviously I am a fan of his, but even if someone wasn't a fan, I think you got to say it, because, you know, math is math, you know, numbers are numbers. Jay, you know, I probably would leave it at that.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. Like, he's taken the game, he's elevated the game to a whole nother level as well, especially like with the NFL now and all this other stuff. Like, he was getting a lot of hate for that, I saw on Twitter and stuff, but he's making these moves that other people either never got the chance to make or just haven't made. And he's got to that point where you're like, okay, you have to start talking about the greatest. He's in that conversation. Like, he has to be in that conversation. Right. Do you know what I mean? So we have because we talk a lot of Wu on this podcast, and Wu comes up a lot, especially in the UK. Wu is loved, like, heavily. And we have a little playlist, which is like the slept on Wu-Tang bangers. So like Wu-Tang tracks, because there's so much music from all the solo artists and stuff like that there's always a track or two, like off the Iron Man album or stuff like that people don't really talk about. So we made a playlist of like tracks that don't really talk about, and we've had like listeners like throw us recommendations, we've had guests throw us recommendations. I was wondering if there's any like Wu-Tang track that where you were like, you know what needs more love is that Wu-Tang track. Is there a track that you have in mind?
Yeah, we got a lot of album cuts off of all those classic albums, like 260 off of Iron Man, Faster Blade.
Yes.
Definitely Faster Blade. Heaven and Hell off of Only Built for Cuban Links.
Yeah.
Labels off of Liquid Swords. You know what I mean? There's a ton. There's a ton.
But those three already, like, yeah, especially off Iron Man. Like, I was listening to that again the other day, because we have these album debates, and I'm going to bring that to one of the album debates. And I was like, the sampling alone on Iron Man is RZA doing something different to everything else, and it still sounds like RZA. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't know how he's done it, but like that man is a genius, bro. He's just an absolute genius. I love it. It's great. But yeah, okay, like it. I'm gonna get them on the playlist, definitely. That's good stuff. So I pitched it out to our listeners that you were going to be on the show, and just see if anyone had any questions they wanted to ask you. And we had a ton. We had like just a whole influx of people asking you questions. I've just narrowed these down from Ray Ridge, AK 3 Degrees. He asks, what is your favorite track of your own?
Oh man, that's tough. Ooh, I can name a few. Langston's Pen, for sure. Yeah. Honor Amongst Thieves. Love is Love. Oh man, I'm trying to think. Like a Marathon. Yeah, and that's going back. The Definitive Prayer.
Are these because of where you were at that time in your life, or are they just because where you think?
Well, that, but more so the things I'm speaking of, and the reflection, and like Long Money is another one I was gonna say. Like just the reflection of myself that I'm giving on those records. That's more so what it is.
I love that. From Patrick Bates. Can you ask Skyzoo what differences and similarities he experienced between living in Jamaica, Queens and Bedford-Stuyvesant, and how it influenced your music?
Oh, man, they know my whole background. That's super dope. Shout out to him.
Yeah.
Queens is a lot of houses. Queens is a lot of families where, you see both parents in the house a little more often than you do in the Sty and in different parts of Brooklyn. So that was huge for me, and just being able to see. A lot of my friends didn't have their father, but then when I got to Queens, a lot of my friends, a good amount still didn't, but a lot of them did. There was more kids who had their fathers with them than there were in Brooklyn with me growing up. And I always had my dad, so that's a big part of my story. But I would say that, and you could see black people owning things in Queens, owning the house. Like in Brooklyn, you live in a brownstone, you live in an apartment, you don't own that. You would go to Queens, and Jamaica, Queens, it was black people who maybe the mom was a nurse and the father was a sanitation worker or whatever, or a postman or something, but they owned their home, and that was huge.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, definitely. And that's another thing about, especially Celebration of Us, but generally about like your albums, like there tends to be like a thread or a story or a concept to a lot of them, right? And what I loved about Celebration of Us was that whole idea of like you talking about loving your dad, having a dad there. And I don't know, man, it just resonated because I'm a dad and my kid's only 2. And I was like, damn, man, I feel that. I don't know if I'd have felt that as hard 5 years ago.
Yeah, same thing with me because my son is almost 2. He'll be 2 at the end of the year. So when I was writing the album, he was in the oven baking, you know what I mean? So that's why the album sounds the way it does. Because I even talk about it on the album. I talk about him all over the album before he even got here. I was saying things about what I wanted it to be like, or what I knew it would be like, or where I was at that point moving forward, knowing he was on the way. So absolutely.
Yeah, man. And it comes through. Definitely comes through, man. What hip hop can you play him? Because I was like, I'm playing like Rakim, I'm playing CL Smooth, I'm playing like, okay, so we can't have anything too hard. It's got to be quite jazzy.
Right.
So I was wondering, what are you playing, your little boy, man?
Yeah, well, my stuff.
Oh yeah,
not
definitely.
all of it because not all of it because some of my stories are a little heinous and talking about what goes on in Brooklyn, New York, and the things I've seen in Brooklyn and Queens and in New York and stuff. So not yet on that, but I play him some of my stuff. I play more jazz for him than anything. But outside of that, Tribe Called Quest, Little Brother, things like that, the dope things that he needs, So I do play those types of things around him.
Yeah.
But he really, I mean, because our kids seem like they're almost the same age. He just wants to hear Baby Shark, So
tell me about it, man.
Baby
Tell
Shark
me about it.
over.
If they just put a Dilla remix of Baby Shark, I'm in. It's fine. Let's do that. But do you know what I mean? It's like, oh God, again. But yeah, I like that, man. I like that. And then we got one here from James Midwinter. If you could go back in time and guest verse on one 90s track of your choice, which would it be?
Oh man, that's awesome. Let's think about that. Yeah, if I could jump on The World Is Yours, because that's, the greatest beat of all time to me. Yeah, The World Is Yours, I would say. I would also say the Scenario remix. Yeah, I probably could sit here and go on and on, but I'll leave you with those two.
Yeah, I like it. And he also asks, if you were in the 90s, which label would you have signed for out of Bad Boy, Death Row, The Rock, Rough Riders, Raucous, etc.? Like any of those, like who would you have signed for if you were an artist?
Oh, Bad Boy, 1,000%. Because when I was growing up, 1,000%. Because with me, you know, one of the things people know about me, I grew up a block away from Biggie. You know, I grew up literally up the block. To walk to the train to go to school or to go to the store, I had to walk by his house. So I had to walk by his house at least twice a day, if not 30 times a day, just being in the neighborhood, running around, playing, you know. So I grew up a block away from Biggie. So my neighborhood was Bad Boy. You know, my neighborhood was Bad Boy and Junior Mafia, which is what made me write the song Bad Boy, 9-5 Bad Boy logo.
Yes,
you know, on Pella themes. So Bad Boy, without a doubt.
Okay.
I wouldn't have to think twice.
Oh, I like it, man. Like that. And then we've got a few more here, just a few others. We got one from MF Gloom, one of our fan favourites. He came out with one of his favourite projects is Easy Truth with Apollo Brown, and he's got good taste because that project is banging. Apollo has been historically known for hard drums and soul samples, but that album had him varying his production. So it's like no drums, sometimes it's quite trap, sometimes quite sparse. He wanted to know, was that your idea, or was that just the overall process of the album, or was that what he brought to the table?
It was his idea, but for me, that's why it made sense. You know, I think the thing about Apollo is he's not making the same beats for every artist. You know, he's making stuff that fits. So if he's working with me, it sounds one way. If he's working with Planet Asia, it sounds another way. If he's working with Guilty Simpson, it sounds another way. Because you got to cater to that artist, right? Like, you know what I do. I'm a big jazz head. I like dirty drums and all that, but I don't like stuff super, super dark. Like, I'm down with the gritty all day because of where I'm from and the things I talk about, but I don't like the dark, death sounding beats. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I like the gritty with kind of the jazz undertone to give you kind of the poetic side of all of the wild, gritty things I'm talking about. You know, so he understood that. And that's why we had the records that we had on that album. So, it was his idea. When he works with an artist, he thinks about that artist and then makes beats to fit what he thinks they should be on. Okay,
that makes sense as well. And then we got one here from Jez Miley. He says, your album with Ant-Man Wonder, The Ode to Reasonable Doubt, he loved that album. And he'd like to know if you tackle any other album by an artist that you love. I'm thinking Biggie here, but is there anyone else who we may not expect?
I mean, I'm probably not going to do it anymore as far as, you know, redoing or tackling an album. But, you know, I think It Was Written would be great because I think that's one of Nas's best albums. You know, it's a fantastic album, and I think people sleep because of how out of this orbit Illmatic was. But It Was Written was a really fantastic album, and I think the beauty in it, besides the awesome lyricism and the production from Trackmasters and all that, is really the growth that Nas showed. And I think people weren't ready to see Nas grow. And that's why sometimes people sleep on the album because they weren't ready to see him grow. But the growth as a man that he showed on the album, going from an 18-year-old to a 21-year-old, the growth that he showed was, you know, eons. I loved it. So if anything, it would be that. But make no mistake, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Yeah. I like
if I had to pick one, it would be that.
Okay, I like that angle on It Was Written, to be fair, because no one's actually talked about that. How young he was and how young you are at that time, like how much, you know, 3-4 years is like a lifetime at that age. So yes, that's mad. That's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And our last question, I know you're a big sports head, man. I know you are. So there's one here from Hugo Bates. He wants to know, for a Brooklyn-born rapper who is maybe now controversially a fan of the Knicks, who are your top 3 favorite Knickerbockers of all time?
Oh man, Earl the Pearl Monroe, Clyde Frazier,
yes,
and Carmelo Anthony.
Oh, Melo gets in there. Damn. Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I don't think he was ready for the quick fire answers, man, for that one. But yeah, that's good. I like it, man. I like it. And how do you reckon they'll do this year, man?
I hope we do. You know, I like RJ Barrett a lot. We got to start winning some games. You know, that's why people are turning us down and saying no to us. You know, they're seeing a beautiful city in New York and the blue and orange, beautiful jerseys, and everything is so great with us as a city and as an idea. But, you know, when you start getting on the court, if there's no real support system, then, you know, why go over there? So we got to start winning some games and showing, hey, man, if you come here, you're not going to be doing everything. We do have some sort of help one way or another.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I
definitely.
hope we do all right, man. I'm my stress levels are always jumping during the season, you know.
I love that, man. That's why we love it, though, innit? Right? That's why we love the sports, man. We love it just for that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, definitely, man.
yeah, we're addicted.
That's it, man. Well, Sky, man, thank you for coming on. Honestly, we've been blessed. It's been a minute since we wanted you, and yeah, you've lived up, man. Like we needed that just insight and just having you on chatting, man. Just chatting about the love, and it's obviously very different for us from the UK just to hear someone from Brooklyn. But yeah, man, loving it. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you guys having me on. It was a dope segment, dope time.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. And last but not least, we always ask our guests one last question before they go, which is, what's the last great music that you heard? So was there something that you heard like today that you were like, yeah, that's amazing? Doesn't have to be necessarily new, but just like great.
Listening to Miles Ahead by Miles Davis yesterday on a flight home, as I do every day almost.
That is big, yeah.
Something from Miles and, just listening to jazz in general. Obviously, it's not new. Obviously, I've heard that album a million times. I have the vinyl. But, just most recent piece of great music. The last time I listened to some great music, last night, listening to that.
Yeah, what a way to go out, man. What a way to go out. Well, thank you very much, man. I'm so looking forward to this new album. And just let everyone know when's that going to be out again?
Oh, man, Skyzoo, Pete Rock, Retropolitan, in stores and online, everywhere that you get music, September 20th, the Mellow Music Group.
Boom. I'm looking forward to it, man. Keep smashing it, man. Just keep doing what you're doing. And yeah, we out here for it. We out here for the love, man. Definitely.
Word. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Peace.
All right.